Peace, y'all. What's happening, man? This is Kavara H. I am your co-host of We Poppin' Son, #1 father and son talk show. That's what separates us from the rest
Boom.
in the world. Good, son.
And I'm comedian Ty Mills. Y'all can watch the episodes on YouTube and iHeartRadio.
WPAM. So that's how
WPAM.
you see us on iHeart. Blazing 420 is the station on iHeart, and it's WPAM. And I don't quite know how that works actually. You know what I mean? Like I've never really been on iHeart, but I know you got to go to like Blazing 420 and the WPAM and the call letters like a radio station.
Mm-hmm.
However that works. So Blazing 420 WPAM on iHeartRadio. Yeah. And what's your YouTube?
Comedian Ty Mills on YouTube.
Yeah, my YouTube is Cavario the Mind Plug, and make sure that when you go to our YouTubes, make sure you hit subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell too, so you'll know when we upload new episodes.
We going live
And
on YouTube Thursday. Cause
yeah,
from that couple seconds of going live, I seen them like doing the payout thing with me. I was like, wait, payout? Wait, hell no. Let me
yeah,
get this
I'm
right.
I'm definitely with it. Like it's overdue. It's overdue. You know, just get both of us. We get so distracted in our lives that it's almost like we don't really think about this until it's Tuesday or Thursday and 5 o'clock. Then it's like, oh, I gotta get ready to do that, you know. And once we get in it, we in it, but we gotta definitely
I was
maximize.
I was about to call you at 1:30, and then I didn't. And you accepted some of the videos that I shared. You accepted
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
and I
I
was like,
looked at a
okay,
bunch of
bet
them.
I'm about to call them. And then I was like, damn, it's 4:30, and I ain't even eat yet today. Look, you notice how I said I was gonna call you at 1:30, and I said it's 4:30, and I ain't eat yet. I was like, shit, let me eat.
Yep,
Then
yep. That's
yeah,
how it gets away from you, man. Like managing this existence it requires a lot of the skill sets that are not being given to a lot of people. I know that I often direct my critiques towards us as a group, melanated people. But I know it's a condition of human beings. I know that there are just a bunch of people who really are barely prepared, barely situated for managing existence. I know that. I'm aware of that. I don't concern myself with other groups. They have their own systems. You know, Indian people have their own communities and systems for compensating for those amongst them who are the weakest. And obviously, the system is set up here in this country for white people to have an advantage. And yes, there are a bunch of white people in this country who don't take advantage of that advantage because they are undereducated, underinformed. But the ones who know, that's why they got so much, because there's so many amongst them that don't know. But imagine the majority of white people all throughout the Midwest, where a lot of people are not in great shape, and all throughout the Ozarks and the Appalachian Mountains, where people are really living like they were living 150 years ago. I've traveled all over the place, and I've been in places where you wouldn't think that a melanated man would be.
for real.
But I can move like that. I wouldn't recommend that to a lot of people, but I'm able to move like that. Just like I was able to move around in the street like that, where I could go to different cities that I didn't know anybody and set up spots and start taking a bunch of money out of the town and not have problems and not be somebody who can be pushed around or messed with at all. It's about basically what I'm speaking about overall. It's about the preparedness. A lot of people, there's not a whole lot going into their preparedness for existence, managing their existence, managing the hours of their day, managing their not just their time, but their attention, what they focus on. I've said it many times in many different ways. When a person comes from a home where people are not educated and don't have a regard for education, and not just institutional education, but just reading, read a book, read something. Maybe grandma and grandpa didn't even finish high school because they had to start working when they were in the 4th grade. I know people like that, but they put emphasis on getting education on their children. And then their children put emphasis on getting education on their children. So if they didn't graduate from high school, but their children graduated from high school, their children's children went on to go to college. And those children, if they became professionals or people who recognized that they were able to have a certain level of existence because they had acquired a certain level of education, then they would naturally want the same opportunities for their children. So they're going to push education. But the same goes for the reverse. If you come from a situation where your people didn't get education and they don't have a regard for education, then if there was a meter and this is 100% and this is 0%, and it's a education meter, like regard. So I value education 100% here, and down here I have no value for it whatsoever. If you come from people who had, say, a 50% value for it, and they didn't push it on you, you're going to have a 40% value for it. Your children are going to have a 20% value for it. Their children are going to have 0% value for it. And I believe that there's more of that example. And I believe that based upon my own interactions with the world, as well as my study of statistics and information, just because I'm curious about those kinds of things. That's why I'm always sharing those kinds of things, because they give you perspective. When you wonder sometimes why people are like this and like that, and regardless of level of education, a lot of people wonder about things that, like, I wonder why, like, why niggas don't be doing this and why they don't be doing that and why they don't, and they might be one of them niggas, but they just wonder why we like this. But they don't
wonder why they call a dryer a dryer. Because when you put stuff in it, it be wet. But when you take it out, it be dry.
Yeah. Now, what he was just doing is giving an example of the kinds of things that niggas that don't have a lot on their mind might wonder about. But I mean, it's a kind of a good example, because if you don't have a lot on your mind, there's not a lot that you're going to be wondering about. But you're going to wonder about the things within the realm of your awareness, right? You're going to wonder why nigga got, black tint all around his car, because that's what you see. Yo, you can't even see out the damn car. What fucking, But there's not enough exposure for people to be wondering about the things beyond their circle, beyond their environment and their circumstances, to make them say, let me go and, shit, you got Google now. You got AI now. You don't got to go far. You ain't got to go to the library. You can do no research. If you wonder about some shit, just look it up. It's like, yo, why do people be doing this, whatever? And by doing that, you become aware of some shit. You become aware of factors impacting circumstances around you that you would never otherwise even consider, because you don't have exposure to education. So you don't understand how cause and effect works. Or if you're familiar with cause and effect, you don't understand how far-reaching cause and effect is. Like, For instance, having a great-great-grandparent that you never met having an impact on the generations of people before you, to the point where you were being taught certain things and being treated certain ways because of the things that people that you never met and probably don't recognize in a photograph, because of what they did and what they said to the people who you come from, to your grandparents' grandparents. You know what I mean? Your grandparents did shit that affected your parents and affected you. You have no fucking idea, because you don't understand the long tail of cause and effect. You know what I mean? And niggas don't wonder enough. They don't wonder, far enough out.
Yeah, like their mama, like who their mama was before they was born. It's like your mama was a hoe. She's a
Maybe.
cool hoe. Like she was just around the way. Everybody was cool with your mama. She was cool with your uncle too. Like he knew her before your daddy. Your daddy just slimed him out, and she wound up pregnant by him.
Yep. It's a lot
That's
of
why
that.
he don't come around, because it's just an issue for his family, because it's like this slimy bitch came between two brothers.
It's
And
a lot of that.
you like, damn, my daddy don't fuck with me. Nah, he don't fuck with your mama, and how all this shit happened.
It's a lot of that. It's a lot of that. And again, if you're not thinking about things, and that, when I say wondering, that's what I'm saying. Niggas is not really thinking about nothing. And again, I know it's not just melanated people. People, like I've said this before, like people look at life through this really, really, really narrow fucking corridor. But on either side of this narrow corridor is a whole ton of things going on that are impacting everything in this space. Everything in here is impacted by everything on that side, everything on that side. And you think you can go through life and manage this narrow corridor. You think you're avoiding imposition, you're avoiding pressure or bother or work by saying, I'm going to keep it real simple, and I'm only going to concern myself with this space right in here. And as long as I ignore what's happening behind that and behind that, life will be simple for me. But life is going to be more complicated for you. And life is more complicated for the larger majority of people, whether they are melanated or non-melanated or from South America or North America or the East or wherever they're from. If you're not paying attention to the things that are impacting your experience, you're suffering. You're suffering. So, and that's what a lot of the trying to smoke your brains out. You're smoking 5-10 blunts a day. You drinking a fifth every other day. You done screwed the girl. You done screwed her cousin. You trying to screw her best friend. Maybe you're gonna get a aunt. All those things
That sound like Chaz.
medication. That sound like my son. He said it sound like his brother. It sound like his brother Chaz. Yeah, he's a slime ball. He's a slime ball.
Yeah.
And he's smart. He's always smart. When he was little, I was gonna put him in modeling because he's just a handsome kid. I was gonna put him in modeling and all that, but he was just so obstinate and you want to say mischievous, but he was a little bastard. He wasn't really mischievous as much as he was a bastard, And so he took his good looks and his intelligence, his charisma, and he used it to do those kinds of things to avoid having to deal with the factors impacting his narrow focus,
Yeah.
Anything to not think about the things impacting the things I'm thinking about. And that's what all the random sexing and the random drugging and the over drugging and the abuse of drugs and alcohol and sex and self, that's what all of that's about. But there is no escape. except death. And that's only as far as we know. We don't know what death is. All we know is from the perspective that we have, it's the end of life. But it could be the beginning of something else for all we know. We have no clue. We have no clue. I don't care what books you're reading and telling you whatever they're telling you, whatever makes you feel good, you attach yourself to that. That's cool. If that helps you get through the day or whatever, but you won't know until you find out. That's for sure. But as far as just wondering, and which is directing your attention towards what might actually matter, it's very important that you do that. I wish I could find the words, and that's when I pause, I'll be trying to find the words, bro. I'll be trying to like figure out what are the key words. It's no different than when I was raising my children. I was always trying to find the key words. I knew the things that I missed in terms of what was being told to me. My circumstances were a little different because I was raised by people who were not at all interested in assimilation with normal society. But I wanted you guys to be able to assimilate with normal society. So I was trying to figure out what is it, especially with your older brothers, especially with Chaz and Rick. I was trying to figure out what is it I could say that can click with them and make them recognize, regardless of what I may have demonstrated as the teenager that raised them for their first few years of life. I was a teenager. I was a teenager from a certain type of circumstance that wasn't right. So I demonstrated things and subscribed to ideas and propagated ideas based upon the stage I was in my life and the circumstances of my development. And they were at points in their lives where their perception of the world was being shaped by that. At the point at which I started to recognize that my exposure, the exposure I gave them was having an adverse effect on their choices and their behaviors, I started to try and figure out ways to right that and counter the damage, I guess. And as I evolved into a teacher, it obviously based upon my experiences with raising people, I understood the importance of being able to find the right series of words to activate thought to make people more inclined to make better decisions, which is why I push critical thinking, because that was the only thing that made the difference with me. Critical thinking about what I was thinking about, which is all it is. If you're not clear, all critical thinking is thinking about what you're thinking about. You're thinking about something. You're thinking about busting a move. Well, all right. I'm going to bust this move. That's a decision. If you haven't thought about that decision, and when I mean by thought about it, meaning you thought about, I'm going to bust this move. Why? Because I want to make some money. How much money? Well, it's going to be about 10, 20, 30,000. Okay, boom. Cool. That's what you can gain. Thinking about what you're thinking about would include not just what you can gain, but what you stand to lose. Well, you say, well, I don't have nothing. What can I don't got nothing to lose.
Oh, well, these niggas like, I ain't even want to think about the negative because that's thinking negative.
It's not the negative. It is not the negative. See, that's what a lack of education will do. It will limit your process. It'll have you thinking or believing, rather, because there's a difference between thinking and believing. It'll have you believing that you know things you never took the time to learn. So if you hear somebody say, that's thinking negatively, if you're thinking about the negative things that could happen, and Now that's a word you're attaching to it. It's not the negative thing that can happen. It is the undesirable potential that can come about from any decision you make. So there are desirable potential outcomes to your decisions, like in the instance of going for a bag, making a move, busting a move. I can make some thousands. I'm thinking about this move, and in executing this move successfully, I could come out on the other end with some thousands. But if I don't execute this move successfully, then what do I stand to lose? I stand to lose my freedom. Maybe I stand to lose my life, because if it's a move where I'm just getting on the road and moving something illicit, something illegal from one point to another, then I stand to lose my freedom. But if it's a move where I'm about to go into some place that belongs to someone that has something that I want that doesn't belong to me, and they're inclined to defend themselves, then I'm putting myself in position to potentially lose my life. For a person to only think about how much they can make transporting something from point A to point B, or how much they can make going into someone's property or place and taking something that belongs to them, and not think about whether they could lose their freedom or whether they can lose their life, that's not thinking, or avoiding thinking negatively. That's avoiding thinking critically. You cannot make a determination about the value or worth of a move if you cannot or will not consider what you stand to lose right alongside what you stand to gain. So if you go, I can make 10,000, or I could get my brains blown out. If you getting your brains blown out doesn't seem like a weightier outcome than this 10,000, if you don't think, damn, all I'm gonna make is maybe 10,000, and if I fall short, I get my brains blown out, that's not really a worthwhile chance to take. Now, 10 million, maybe. I was talking to a new client earlier, sister out of Baltimore. I don't know if she's on here tonight with us. If she is, shout out Frida out of B-More. Good sister. And we're talking about something along those lines where it's like, if the person is making a decision about doing something and they don't consider what they stand to lose against what they stand to gain, then they really don't know whether the chance they're taking is worth taking. You don't know. And I was explaining to her the difference between what non-melanated people do, what Caucasians do, what we do. I was telling her that in the PPP thing, between 30 and $400 billion, I still got it on the screen. Between 80, PPP fraud estimates range between 80, this is nationally, between 80 and 400 billion. That's the frauds, not the legitimate ones, the frauds between 80 and 400 billion, which is crazy. That's a huge disparity. Between 80 billion and 320 billion more, somewhere in between there somewhere? What? That's insane. But just Atlanta alone, the three biggest cases in Atlanta, some dude named Carl Delano, this 9.6 million and 3.4 million. And he got almost 15 years. This thing was buying, he spent money on yachts and surgeries and shit. So he's obviously doing a man Kivo shit. Right? He getting chest and pec implants and six packs and calf implants and shit.
Hey man, but that's part of the sell on the stuff. Like if they getting you to sign up, and I'm like, I'm gonna get you 100,000 back, and we gonna do a 60-40.
Their way.
Yeah, no, I'm getting 60, you get 40 because I'm
Yeah,
setting it up.
right. There's 60-40 their way.
Yeah,
If it's their way, that means they get the larger share. They get the lion's share.
yeah, so they ain't gonna tell you that, yo, you can go to jail, or you're going to go to jail when they figure out all of this stuff is fake. And then when you don't follow through and make your business legitimate or build out or do anything for your business or have any business expenses going towards the actual business that you're getting this money for, you're going to go to jail for fraud.
Yep.
You better off just taking this money, and even if you just throw it in a fucking hole that you say, this is my business, you better off doing that. Because you're like, yeah, I threw money at it and it just didn't work. They're like, well, we see it.
Well, it wasn't, they weren't for that. They were for, people filling a gap in their situations, whether there was employment or whether they claim to have a business and employees, whatever. It's like, because of all these other things going on, we're going to set this up so that you can get this loan to carry over, for this period, whatever. Pay your employees, pay your overhead and all that kind of stuff, whatever. And it was just something they were setting up because they were doing that. They were giving average people, it was distraction. They were giving average people the opportunity to do whatever so they could steal trillions. You know what I mean? So they could steal tons and tons and tons more. So it's like, we're going to start a small fire over here so we can create a conflagration over here and burn down half the world. But we're going to be like, oh, look at that fire. It's called prestidigitation, sleight of hand. So I got you looking over here while I'm doing some shit over here. And another person out of Atlanta, Daryl Thomas, him and 22 other motherfuckers, they all got convicted, and their shit was 11.1 million. And then Shalitha Robertson, she was an Atlanta city attorney. She took 15 million. They gave her 7 years, hit her with the Ponzi fraud. I think I remember hearing about her. So I was saying the difference between, this how this came up. I was telling Sister Frida, the difference between them and us is when they take money, like a Bernie Madoff or, any of those guys from Wall Street, they take billions, or back in the 80s, they would take $400 million back then was, like $2 billion because of the value of the money or whatever, and they knew that they were going to go to jail. That's why they partied and yachts and drugs and prostitutes and private jets and all that, because they knew they were going to get caught. It was too big to not get caught. But their thing was, when I get caught, I'm going to take $200, $300, $400 million. I'm going to end up paying a lawyer $1 million, maybe $2 million, to get me a 10% fine. Maybe I got to give back 40 million. And then maybe I got to go sit down in Club Fed for 3 years, 3.5 years, 5 years. But when I come home, I'm going to have a new scheme, because there's a bunch of guys like me in there who know the system, who's smart, who's slick, who's corrupt as fuck, and we all know what we on. And I'm coming home to the rest of that money that I did not give y'all back.
And I got capital to invest in my next scheme.
That's right. That's right. That's the difference. That's the difference between us and them. They're going to do the extra, the balling and all that, whatever, but they understand the consequences. They understand there are going to be consequences. Not all of them, but the better of them. understand there are going to be consequences. And they weigh that. It's all right, what are we doing? All right, we're about to pull this insider trading shit. We're about to pull this Ponzi. What do we stand to make? Oh, we're going to make 3, 4, 5, 600 million. We're going to make $1 billion. Shit. Okay. Well, we're going to tuck 30, 40 million over here, tuck another 20, 30 million over here, tuck another 100 million over here, and we're going to ball out with the rest. We're going to snip it up, smoke it up, drink it up, flying, boats, this, that, cars. We're going to have ourselves a good time because we're going to have to go sit down. Somebody's going to have to go sit down for a few years. But when you come home, you're going to go sit on that island that you bought that they don't know about or don't care about because you gave them back $40 million. They don't care. They don't care. They don't. There is no right, wrong. Y'all heard me say this before. There's no right and wrong. You get caught, you pay the piper. And the game keep going. It's all a game. But at least there are people who understand the consequences. They understand what they stand to gain and what they stand to lose. And they're playing with that awareness. A lot of us are not playing on that level, nowhere near that level. One, because we don't have the education to access those opportunities. Very few have the education to access those kinds of level of opportunity. But whatever level they're on, whether it's weed moves or blow moves or scams or whatever, they're not really conscious of the consequences. So because they're not conscious of the consequences, they don't know whether or not what they're getting out of what they're doing is worth the risk. And they don't care until it's time to deal with the worst case scenario, until the risk becomes the reality. Then it's, oh, woe is me. Damn, why is this happening to me? Why am I jammed up? Why I got to go do what dude got? 15 years. Well, I got to go do 15 years. And what it comes down to is, like I've always done with Don Diva. In Don Diva magazine, I shared a lot of stories, a lot of cautionary tales. Never once did I ever say to anybody, don't do this. Don't do that. Like, don't sell those drugs. Don't be involved in that crime. I never said that. I said, this is what can happen. This is what can happen if you do what you're doing. Whoever you are, you're reading this magazine. What you're doing right now that you think nobody knows, except for you and your cohorts, what you're doing right now, here's one of my former cohorts. And they were doing exactly what you're doing right now. And this is them telling their story. Notice at the end, after you see all the pictures with the cars and the jewelry and the clothes and all that, notice at the end, they're in a jumpsuit. Notice they're wearing that Fed outfit. And they were smarter than you, tougher than you, meaner than you.
Was more organized.
Yeah.
Had more money, more bitches, sold more drugs.
And they right where they at. So now you are making an informed decision. I have them telling you how it is that their great plan fell apart. What happened? Who did what? How the feds worked and got them, the tricks that they used, the technology that they used, the systems that they used, the different laws that they came at them. I had so many friends who was like, yo, bro, I did not know that when I went and put that house in my grandmother's name, that she would be subjected to money laundering charges. I didn't know that. I didn't know I was setting my mother up for a conspiracy charge when I told her to go and meet with my girl who was coming down to DC to pick up the bread for me and she's going to be getting off the plane or getting off the train and go pick her up because I trust you. You're my mother. I don't trust somebody. I didn't know I was incorporating her into my conspiracy. I didn't even know I was involved in a conspiracy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I could be charged as a kingpin because I had more than 5 people working for me. I didn't know that. So I was giving people the opportunity by sharing with them the experiences of people who had already taken these risks and were now dealing with the worst case scenarios. So they would have that information that they would otherwise have to come into contact with the worst case scenario in order to find out. If a Don Diva magazine existed in the 80s, a lot less dudes would have probably went to prison in the 90s. It was because of a lack of really understanding what they were subjecting themselves to as it relates to punishment that a lot of dudes did what they did. They didn't do it because they were tough and they were mean and they were so serious. They did it because they didn't actually understand what they were subjecting themselves to. They didn't know that they would sit there one day, be looking at IRS agents, DEA agents, ATF agents, FBI agents, Secret Service agents. They didn't know that. They didn't understand what it meant when it said the United States government versus yo little ass. The whole United States government versus me? What? I didn't know I was dealing with that. So if you didn't know that you were facing these potential levels of consequences, then how could you say that what you were getting from what you were doing was worth it? It's like somebody saying, yo, my jeweler sold me this watch for $6,000, $10,000, got a good price on this. Well, if you don't know how the value of a watch is determined, then how do you know you got a good price? How do you know? Based on what? It's a good price based on what? You know about watches. You know about the valuation of watches. You know how a watch is determined in terms of what it's worth, the value.
The guy said, for you, my brother, I got a very good price.
That's right.
For you, you're my guy.
For you, my friend,
you're my guy.
I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to hook you up like a fucking fish, like a piece of meat. Eat your food, tough ass nigga. I know you probably think, yo, I know this little old motherfucker ain't gonna play with me. That nigga see my face. He see my face. That nigga gonna play with me. Nigga, he play with you all day long. Because although you're tough, he's smart. Smart niggas run tough niggas all day long. I mean, you think Obama's tough? Think Trump is tough? These niggas is tough. But they sent a bunch of tough niggas to go and do a bunch of tough nigga shit and get killed doing it, and had a bunch of other motherfucking tough niggas lined up to be next. Like I've said before, it's good to be tough. It's better to be smart. And this is the point, or the crux of my whole point and purpose, me personally as the Mind Plug. This is what I'm about. Getting that across. I'm not telling you don't do this and don't be like that. I'm telling you, whatever you do, be mindful about it. Think about it critically. Really think about it. Weigh it. And without a critical process and some information, you can't really weigh it. You can't weigh it. You can't think about the things, consider the things you need to consider in order for you to be able to make a good decision about whether this is worth the trouble. Your man comes and say, yo, I got a lick, nigga. Those niggas sitting in the house with like 10 bricks, probably got about a half a man in there. Yo, he just being there with him and his girl. Yo, we can get this nigga. I know where he at. I got the code to his building. I'm saying all we got to do is get in there, wait in the staircase, wait for his girl to come home. Bam. We in there. Got that shit in and out. Boom, bang. We gone. We done. Okay. Now, what you don't know is that this nigga is working with the motherfucking feds, working with the fucking police. And right across from him, they are set the fuck up. They stinging niggas. You don't got no goddamn clue about this. So you about to go in here and you are armed. You probably already got some kind of criminal record. So you're an armed felon in the commission of a violent crime, robbery, home invasion, kidnapping on a federal level.
And you wound up shooting your man in the head because y'all never talked about getting in each other's line of fire.
Oh, no doubt.
So you popped
no
your
doubt.
man in the head and they
Oh, no
put that
doubt.
murder on you.
Oh, I mean, you got to do that to get that murder on you. You run up in that joint and that dude's wife blow your brains out. It's a story in Bump's book, just like that. His man got knocked off just like that. Nigga wife emptied in his ass. He wasn't even thinking about it because you're a chick. But in the case like this scenario we're talking about, if your man get knocked off in this lick by the intended victim, the murder is yours. Just like if you were to get knocked off in the lick, the murder is his. Yeah, they're going to charge you with the body. They're going to give you the body. But he's my man. I didn't kill him. He got killed while we were robbing these people. Yep. You got murder. It's your murder charge. So now you got capital murder. You got breaking and entering. You got home invasion. You snatched the woman or you snatched the dude and dragged him from one room to the other. That's kidnapping. Or maybe you grabbed him at the car and dragged him from the car up to the apartment. Kidnapping. Maybe you took him 6 feet. Kidnapping. 15 years. Felon in possession of a firearm. You ain't bust a shot. 10, 15 years. If you were, and this is universal, the majority of cats who are in prison for whatever they're in prison for, if along with knowing how many bricks he had and how much money he had, they also were just as clear on how much potential trouble they could be facing if it went bad. And we know you got your plan, and then there's the whole world, right? You got your plan. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But while you're doing that, the world is reacting. So just like you saying, all right, we're going to catch dude in the parking lot. We're going to snatch him, take him in the elevator, make him take us upstairs to the spot. You know what I mean? Have him make his girl open the door, push in, and, snatch her up, lay her down, and don't do like Larry Davis used to do sometime and rape her. You can do that. Larry started doing it. He started raping the women. First he was just taking the money, taking the coke. Then he started taking the money, the coke, the leather jackets, the VCRs, the jewelry, and then take the broad in the room while niggas is gathering up there and rape her. I don't know if people know that, but they used to come and see me sometime. Him, Big Charlie, Little Charlie, DMC, Rodney. They used to come and see me. They used to work for me. I used to give them heroin to sell at the hotel on 16th Street, my old neighborhood. And they used to come and see me and, tell me the wild story. Yo, yeah, we did this, we did that. This nigga Larry. So you do all this shit, but you committing. You think you're just doing a robbery. You think you just got a gun and you're doing a robbery. So maybe I'll get, if I can get busted for robbery, I don't know. I don't even know how much time I'm facing. But nigga, you're committing 20 other crimes you don't even know exist because you're ignorant as fuck. And you're looking at everything through this little narrow fucking space. You're not concerned yourself with what's over here, what's over here. But what's over here and what's over here is going to be what's finished you. Not not this little narrow space you're looking through, but what's on either side of that information that you're not aware of, or those circumstances you're not paying attention to, or the circumstances that you are focused on. You know, what you going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. But what do you think everybody else could be doing while you're doing that? You don't think that the people that you're planning on robbing, you don't think they're saying, yo, if a nigga come up in here, babe, this is what you do. There's a gun right there. There's a gun right there. 9 times out of 10, they're going to not really pay you too much attention. You know, you act scared, you scream, whatever, you know, and you know, the nigga might tie you up and put you in the bathroom or whatever. You know what I'm saying? There's a gun right up here under the tank, you know? There's a gun in there. We're going to keep a gun in there. We keep a knife in there, you know? Like you don't know there are all these factors. So something can go wrong. And if something does go wrong, you have to think about, okay, what do I stand to lose now? Am I going to lose my partner? Am I going to, you know, and if I get jammed, worst case scenario, I get jammed. What am I facing? What am I facing? So I can either get these 10 bricks and this half $500,000, or I can get kidnapping, robbery, breaking and entering, home invasion, felon in possession of a firearm and the commission of a violent crime. I mean, there's a ton of shit that you won't even fucking think about. Unless you are able to consider what you can lose, whatever you can gain, you can't really say it's worth it. If you're only thinking about what you can gain, you can't say that it is worth it. It's a lot of motherfuckers sitting in the penitentiary who made a lot of money, and they saying this 30 years, it ain't worth it. This 50 years ain't worth it. Wasn't worth it. You 27 years old going to prison for 50 years. What was worth it? Whatever, say you stood to make $70,000, $80,000 off this lick. You don't think that in 50 years you could have made $70,000, $80,000? Saved $70,000, $80,000? But the key in what I just said is you don't think, because you niggas don't be thinking. You don't be thinking. That's what makes you dangerous. Not your gun, not your switch, not your drum. You're stupid. You're not thinking. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you dangerous. The fact that you don't think. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes people want you out of society. That's what makes people want you in a cage somewhere until you're too old to be of a threat to anybody. Because you don't think. That's the real crime. The fact that you don't think. And that there's no culture within our collective that puts emphasis or value on thinking. You don't hear cats talking about that. You don't hear cats yapping and rapping about that at all. It's all about how fast you can flush yourself and how flashy you can look doing it. That's why nobody wants you around. Doesn't matter who they are, Democrat or Republican, conservative or liberal, black or white, rich or poor. Nobody wants a non-thinking motherfucker around because all they do is cause trouble, problems, and loss. That's all. And you motherfuckers have created a whole culture that you subscribe to wholeheartedly. A non-thinking culture. But I don't know if y'all noticed, but it's coming to an end. I don't know if y'all and I'm pretty sure y'all haven't. But the kids are without any direction. You got 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds completely fucking lost. They can't read. They can't comprehend. They're unemployable. They can't even qualify for fast food service jobs because they can't do the most basic of things. They lack any reasonable degree of socialization that would be required for them to be able to have a public facing position on the lowest level. You listen to me now, but you're going to believe me later on. What's up with T.I.?
Hey man, hey man, I was just about to say, no, let's talk about some bullshit. So, man, hey, I don't even know what to say. I appreciate how he's handling himself because, like, I know him and I know how he get down. Like, I know he don't care if you the champion of the world. Like, he'll come see you. Like, so you're playing with the man family and he keeping it music, but he letting you know where he stand and he's standing with his family. Like, ain't no bigger flex than be able to sit there with your wife, your kids, your mother, and you rich, you successful, and you happy.
That's right. That's right. See, he already won. And them new joints he dropping, that boy rapping like he hungry. He rapping like he need to eat.
Man, he stay in the studio. Like the whole time we do comedy, we leaving the comedy show, we pulling up, meeting him at the studio. Like he just don't drop nothing because the business of dropping music, the promo tour, the this, the that. It's like I just here's something.
Man, listen,
and I'm still him.
That new joint is any indication, if he dropped that, what he holding on to, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. Crazy. That joint. Every time I hear that shit take me back to ATL, like that real ATL shit, nigga.
Yeah.
Man, fire. Salute to him. Salute to his family. I mean, obviously, that those are my people, and that's why I put you with them, Yeah. But he's graceful. He's graceful. My mad former mentee is not a happy person, and I don't know why I watch people in those comments. We just hit the hour mark. I watch people in those comments, and the amount of people, the low vibrational people that he leverages, who encourage his miserable attacks. Now, contrast situation and circumstances of T.I. that you just elaborated on. He's got his wife, his mom, his children. His children love him. His children respect him. You're not going to always be on the top of the mountain. There will come a time when a new generation of people with new interests and new individuals who are the center of those interests will come along, and all you will have is all the stuff that you created off camera. And if you've created nothing off camera, then no matter how much you have, you will have nothing. My former mentee does not recognize that. And there are a bunch of people, I don't imagine that he's really motivated by the way these people respond to his behavior. They cheer it on. Oh man, you don't want to fuck with him, man, because he do. It's like, you guys are what we call cannon fodder. You are your whole existence is about you being available for collateral damage. That's what you're available for. You're just food for the machine. You're something to be wasted when it's time to waste something. That's what you are. That's what you are. For you to subscribe to the behaviors and encourage the behaviors that this obviously miserable, unhappy, no matter how successful, supposedly successful you think he is. You listen to something that he said, T.I. said on LA Leakers in his freestyle. Flexing with them white boys shit. Flexing with them white boys shit. The people that he leverages the appeal of, these people are the ignorant, uninformed, miseducated, or uneducated people that I'm talking about, that I say that don't have a clue about nothing. And they think if a guy pulls up in a fancy car with fancy clothes, wearing an expensive watch and what looks like it, not that they would know an expensive watch from an inexpensive watch is. If it's shiny and they're driving a car, they assume if the car is expensive, then everything else he's wearing must be expensive too. I don't know nothing from nothing. I've never had anything, but I believe. They believe anything that that person says. So when that person says, oh, I'm pissed at you, so I'm going to end your show and take away your career. They go, oh, yeah, he can do that because he owns this and he's in charge of that. Like Tip said, flexing with them white boys shit. One day, it is inevitable, one day, regardless of how much of a monkey brain backward jackass you are, you're going to come face to face with the reality of this individual. And you know, the funny thing is when they do, they're going to be happy to tear him apart. They're going to be happy to do it. All the encourage, yeah, go ahead, get him, get him. Yeah, he coming for you, boy. He's the king of petty. He's the king of petty. But as soon as he's exposed, as time will inevitably do, whether he's alive for it or not, will be happy to turn on him and tear him down. And they will. And this guy's creating a whole new generation of enemies. He's made enemies out of people who were babies or not even born when he began his career. How smart do you think he is? How smart do you really think he is? How stupid are you to have that kind of a standard for what smart is? To think that he could attack people for 2 decades. And then when those people's children or the offspring of that generation come along, ignite conflicts with them. You have no idea what their futures hold. No idea who they're going to become, what kind of enemies you're setting yourself up for. And when you're no longer interested in playing this game and being this person, just because you stop playing don't mean the game is over, baby. But sometimes it's just pearls before swine. And there's a lot of swine out there. A lot of you motherfuckers are swine. You are. You don't have to be, but you choose to be because it's the path of least resistance. It's easier. Standing the fuck up and being a man. But the time is coming. Time for realization is coming. And you'll either face the light or you'll die in the dark. But you will not avoid it. That's a fact. Shout out to TIP. So, yep, I'm done.
Yeah. So thank you for watching another episode of We Poppin' Son Talk Show. You can watch this episode on iHeartRadio at
Blazing 420,
Blazing 420.
WPAM.
And you can watch it on YouTube at Comedian Tom Mills or at Cavario the Mind Plug.
That's right. And make sure that you subscribe when you go to our YouTubes. Make sure that you hit the notification bell. Make sure that you share this, because understand this kind of conversation, we're not talking about bullshit. We're not talking about dumb shit. And this is not the kind of thing that they want our people to get access to. This is not the kind of conversation they want y'all to have access to. They want y'all to be focused on stupid shit, on conflict, on undermining one another. So if we have to use their platforms to connect with one another, uplift one another, encourage one another, inform and educate one another, then we have to share those means. And this is one of those means. The We Poppin' Show is one of those means. So share this. They don't want you to share it. You know, my subscriber numbers have not changed in 2 years. Could you imagine that? Imagine that's natural. That ain't natural. That's not natural. This is not my first Instagram page. My first Instagram page, I hit 10,000 in a matter of and this was when Instagram was new. And barely anybody was on it. There were no smartphones like that for real. Yeah, they fucking with us. They fucking with us, but we won't stop. We won't stop, but we need y'all. We need y'all encouragement. We need y'all support. We need y'all to work, to network, to be deliberate about helping us push this shit forward, man. For real, for real. We're not going to stop. And we will be going live at 7 p.m. on Thursday. We're going to do it on, I don't know, how does that work? Like, we do it on my YouTube?
It'll be both our YouTubes.
It'll be both of our YouTubes, right? You'll be live on yours, I'll be live on mine. Hey, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Let's do that. Because Instagram ain't about shit for real. It's not. Ain't about shit for real. But leveraging us and, using our energy. That's all. And fuck these people. Seriously. Fuck these people. But that's it, man. I love you, son.
Love you too, Pop.
And remember, y'all, think critically so that you may live wonderfully. Mind plug out. Peace.